Evening, folks. Thanks for coming along a wee bit earlier than usual, but however, we are here. Hi, Mr. Cat Doll. Hope you're keeping well. So tonight, I'm not hosting; somebody else is. I'm just doing a wee brief introduction, and so that's that done. And I'm going to hand you over to the very talented, beautiful, gifted, polite, but Karen Perkins. Oh, you go, Karen.
Thank you very much, Scott. I'll stop laughing after that introduction. Well, thank you ever so much, everyone, for joining us. It's the first of our new Witchcraft lives tonight. If you've been following us, you're aware we've done a series on the Pendle witches and an awful lot about the history of the witches and the witch persecutions, really. And we're turning now from the attention from the persecution of the witches to the practice of the witches. Who were they really? And who are they really? And what does it really mean to be a witch today? We've gone from obviously the Druidic practices to the cunning folk, including the pagan practices, and then Wicca as well. And there's an awful lot of definitions, different paths that we can follow as we explore witchcraft and our own path, the spiritual path of the witch. So to introduce the team tonight, obviously we've already met Scott. We have Shelley, my fellow Pendle witch enthusiast from the Pendle Lives. John from PIH England. Hi, John. Star of the show tonight is Forrest Fay, a practicing witch from PIH Wales. Unfortunately, Jo can't be with us this evening. She's also a practicing witch from England, but she has just sent us a little introductory video. So if we kick off with that, and then we'll introduce ourselves in a bit more detail and start the chat.
Right. Okay. 2 seconds. Now, obviously, people know I'm not tech savvy, so I'll try not to cut in.
I'll just see how
here we go, folks.
it's on the chat. All right. Well done, Scott.
We'll get Misty, Hatchie, Teresa as well. So, hi, folks. Thanks for coming in. And here we go with Jo. I think. Maybe not.
Come on, Jo.
There she's there.
No way.
So
Maybe.
Apologies for that. I just wanted to give you a brief introduction into me. Hey, I want to say good evening, but it's actually afternoon because I'm pre-recording this because I can't be with my team tonight on the live. So apologies for that. I just want to give you a brief introduction into me and the witch that I am. So, as most of you probably know, I'm Jo. I'm an eclectic witch, so I choose my own path to celebrate when it comes to Sabbats and things like that. I'm pretty much my own course. I believe in candle magic and moon magic and animals as spirit guides. I'm a practicing witch. It's been something that I've done for quite a few years now. It's always been underlying, but personal circumstances made me feel like I wasn't able to express who I am or who I knew I was inside. I couldn't come forward with it. A change in my life has been, has highlighted the fact that I can do that now. So yeah, like I say, candle magic, moon magic, crystals, crystal balls, all sorts of different crystals, runes, tarot cards, all sorts of stuff like that, is what I do. And I think hopefully going to make this a regular kind of witch thing, because I know Karen has amazing novels and goes in the 16th century. Things like that are still very clear and very present now, and we're still using the same practices, except were they witches or were they just cunning women? Herbs, spices, all those kind of things is exactly what I use in my magic, and probably what they would have used back then. All good magic? Maybe so. A little bit of bad magic? Perhaps. So without me waffling on any further, I'm going to leave you in the amazingly capable hands of my witch team, and hopefully I can join them live next time. Thanks, guys. Have a good evening. Oh, no, I can't hang up.
Thank you very much, Jo. That's fantastic. What an intriguing introduction. I'm looking forward to asking her some questions next time as well on that. I thought, first of all, first question really is, how did we become interested in witchcraft? Who wants to go first? Well, Forrest, what was your path into becoming a practicing witch? How did you become interested in the craft?
Well, I think in essence, I was always a weird child. And I've started doing tarot. I was about 17, 18. Somebody brought me tarot cards for my birthday because I'd seen them in a shop, and started looking into divination and clairvoyance, and just being really intrigued and interested, in certain films at the time as well, sort of piqued my interest. So I started just getting into doing tarot cards with my friends, and then it kind of grew from there, really, my interest in everything occult. And wow, there's stuff up there that we don't understand, and I don't think we ever will. That's the conclusion I'm at my age now. But yeah, it was just an interest in witches in general, and ghosts and dead stuff. So that's where I started.
Wanting answers to the big questions.
Yeah, I think it's just, when you've just got an interest, haven't you? Everybody's different, and my interest was always in the things that weren't the norm.
Yeah.
And it wasn't because I wanted to stand out or be different to everybody else, but I was quite creative. I'm an artist as well, so I've got a creative mind. So I always wanted to just find out about the things that weren't in everyday life. So that's where I was coming from.
Oh, great, thank you. Shelley, how did your interest spark?
So, hi everybody. I think when I was young, actually around about the same age as Forrest, but I was interested in all things paranormal for a very, very early age. I felt like I spent a lot of time locked in my own head, where I felt like people didn't really understand who I was. I didn't even understand who I was. But I think coming over the years, I mean, I'm obviously the same age as Forrest. When I started getting into the tarot cards, started teaching myself how to use them, and I started to do a wee bit of tarot. But I would never ever I never really practiced much on anybody. I just kind of practiced a wee bit, but just guinea pigs really. And then I knew that nature was just something that was a big part of my life. I knew that where I lived in Glasgow, travelling to living in Inverness, up where it was so quiet, go camping and just feel the peace. And I felt rejuvenated when I came away from there. And then the older I got, I started to understand that in my own mind, I felt like I was starting to appreciate things like witches did, that the good, because I'm actually really a good person. Don't say a word. No, but and I feel as though like you just want to help and make people feel better. So that's where I feel like in my own life, in a previous life, that I was once a witch, and that's how I feel. And so that's where my passion lies. Although I've never really practiced witchcraft, I feel as though I've got a strong bond towards it. And that's why the Pendle story is it just hits home with me, really, that these people are just normal people, and through circumstances, they just got a raw deal. And so that's pretty much how I see myself as far as witchcraft goes. And just being able to learn wee bits of bobs, which is why I'm in this team.
Yes, wonderful. And John, how did your interest in witchcraft spark?
A bit like Shelley, I think. I've always been really at peace in nature and go camping all the time and all that. So I think with witchcraft, the link to nature and the fact that they utilize the energy available from nature and they kind of work with it, it kind of resonates with me quite a lot. I don't practice anything. I have done a few moon rituals, like with intentions and things like that recently. So it's just a fascinating subject to me, and I've loved learning about the Pendle witches as well. I've got a couple of friends now who are pagan as well, so I've learned quite a lot from them. So yeah, I think for me, it's just what Shelley was saying. That connection to nature is just really intriguing to me, and I think that's why I'm personally quite interested in that.
Scott, what about you? Where's your interest in witchcraft?
I wouldn't say it sounds bad, a major interest. I first kind of noticed witchcraft when I was back, something similar to what Forrest said, watching films and stuff. I always remember one film, it was called The Witch, funnily enough, but I used to watch it over and over again. It was back in the 80s kind of thing, and I loved this film. And ever since then, I've never understood the spell side of it or, the nature side, all that kind of stuff. And I don't mean that in a bad way, it's just something that I never studied. But then an interest in Pendle many years ago, and I started to look at the witch trials and how these people were, ill treated and what have you, and that kind of sparked my interest in the whole kind of witchcraft thing. And I think obviously I was a bit naive because you always imagine, as soon as you say witchcraft, you imagine the pentagram and, worshipping Satan and, all that kind of stuff. You don't actually realise the other side of it, the sort of white witch side of it. I always just associated witchcraft with black magic and occult and that, but then I realised, no, there's two sides to this. So it kind of goes back to when I used to watch the films and what have you, but the Pendle, seems I've followed the panel, the Pendle story really caught my interest many years ago, and it's stuck up there ever since. And that's it. I don't know any spells or anything, anything like that. I wish I did, but no, I don't. So that's basically it. Hi, Kathy Doll, welcome. And that's me.
Wonderful. Oh, thank you. I think mine is actually very similar, and I could relate a lot to what you were saying, Forrest. I think when I was a teenager, a very close friend died, and then I really started looking at all sorts of life after death belief systems and reincarnation, and then came various different spiritual aspects and became interested in the tarot and crystals as well. But it was very much more of a research frame of mind, I think. And then found about the Pendle Witches, read William Ainsworth's book, the Lancashire Witches book, and that really stuck within me. And then I think later in life, when I became ill, I started looking at different complementary therapies. And the one that really struck close to me was Reiki. So I started working with spirit, with angels, and also with crystals and with energy. And I've had some experience that scared me a bit, to be honest. So I've stepped back. So it's something that fascinates me. I want to learn more about, but it also concerns me as well if I'm too open. And I think in a way that it also drives the books that I write, because I do research different aspects for different books. I mean, obviously for the Pendle Witch books, but for some of the ghost books as well, there's different things in there as well. And I think the whole subject fascinates me, because I think the word itself has so many different connotations. It means witch, and witchcraft means different things to different people, and really violently different things in some cases. And it has done through the centuries, and the meaning and the feeling, and it stirs up a lot of emotion in people as well. And people do seem to I've heard people castigating Halloween and celebrating witches on the broomsticks across the moon, and in complete, absolute 100% believe how horrendously evil it is to be celebrating these minions of the devil. And I was speechless, and it's not often I'm speechless, but I was speechless. But she completely believed it, and that was obviously not long ago. But yet the reality is very different, isn't it? 'Cause it's a lot more, it's a lot of healing, it's a lot of love, it's a lot of bringing things together. In a way, spells can be shown as another form of praying, because you're putting the intention out there for things to happen. In Forest, there are a lot of different types of witches and witchcraft paths, if I can use that term. Can you tell us a bit more about the different? Well, I don't want to use the word options, but the different options.
Oh, let's just. My daughter is 15. She showed an interest in my tarot cards, so I got her a Wicca set that the book contained Sabbath spells and all sorts. It really sparked her interest, and now classes herself as a pagan witch. It's a good age to start researching. The earlier, the better, in my humble opinion.
And with the support of mum as well.
Yeah, but I can tell you, I've been researching the different types of witches because there are quite a few. So I'll be watching to see if any of you shut your eyes at any point whilst I get through this. Right, so first one we have is a traditional witch, which they have a base in the history of witchcraft and the old craft that came before Wicca, because Wicca is a modern form of witchcraft. So it came before Wicca. Traditional witches want to honour the old ways of practising their craft and will often focus on working with the local history and spirits of where they are or where they've come from. So they're a bit like you, Karen. They research history and where it came from. So they're interested in the old ways. We've got the garden there. Sorry?
I suppose, and working with ancestral spirit as well, maybe?
Yeah, local history and spirits of where they're from and where they came from. So I would say a traditional witch was kind of a historic witch. Okay, so then we've got the Gardnerian witch. Strong ties to nature and challenge societal norms. They have many rituals that are foundation of their practice. In order to be a Gardnerian witch, you must be initiated, and members cannot initiate themselves. They have an incredibly structured system of advancing. So that sounds very much like you're part of a coven and you have to move up within the coven. Okay.
Sounds a bit like Wicca as well, doesn't it? Does it sound a bit like Wicca with Gerard Gardner? And
I think several of these require a coven and guidance from elders, you know, who will help you practice the craft and level up as per se. But there are some solitary ones as well, which is basically what I do, because I've never really met that many witches. I mean, there's plenty on the internet, but when you're looking for them in your local area, there used to be pagan moots and such in Wolverhampton, where I'm from, but they all just dispersed and disbanded. So not that many, not as many as you think. Okay, so an Alexandrian witch, which I've never heard of before.
Never.
Pulls elements of ceremonial magic and Kabbalah as well. Now, Kabbalah is a different type of magic. I've heard the word, but I couldn't tell you what it was. We have the Corellian witch, not recognised as Wicca until the 1990s, so that's quite a modern one. Seen more as eclecticism and universalism. Widespread practices are still in existence today, and that's another one I've not heard of. Have you guys heard of that one? Corellian witch?
No.
Then we have the sea witch. Sorry, John.
I've heard of the Kabbalah one because Madonna was famous for following that.
Yes.
Kabbalah, right enough. I knew I'd heard that name before, but I didn't put it. Yeah.
Well, the Kabbalah is a book, isn't it? Is it a book in the Jewish faith?
Sorry, I didn't hear that. You broke up.
Because there was a book. The Kabbalah book in the
I think
Jewish
there is,
faith.
but yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not sure it's the
And then
same
it's
thing
taken
though. I
from
think
there,
that's with
so
a,
it could be.
like,
Yeah.
is that with a K, and Kabbalah in
Yeah.
Wicca is with a Q.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if they
Oh,
relate.
right.
Oh,
Hello, Misty.
Right.
Right, number 5,
Misty.
we have a sea witch. And the sea witch has strong ties to water and the ocean and uses that in her practice. So she combs the beach for driftwood and shells and all that sort of thing. They're connected to water and ancient folklore involving sirens. Woo!
mm.
The Kabbalah is a book in the Jewish religion, and it's a religion in itself. 1 gold star. There you go, you get a gold star. Okay, kitchen witches. I like kitchen witches. They love to cook and brew and use herbs, sometimes gathered from their own garden. When practicing, they combine their own personal and individual magical energy and essence, oils, herbs, food, everyday objects, and everyday ritual. So I can imagine that's quite popular during COVID. You know, you can just potter around in your garden, grab some stuff, go back into the kitchen and pop up a spell. Especially when your husband's not picking his socks up from the floor. I'm sure there's plenty of those spells going around. Hedge witch, number 7. They communicate with the spiritual world and can send messages between both worlds. Hedge witches practice astral projection as well as work with herbs and earth-based magic. Herbs, tarot and crystal, self-taught usually.
Yep.
Now I would say I've got a bit of a hedge witch in there. You got a bit of hedge witch in you, Shelley?
I think so. I think they're more solitary, whereas if you're working, you're kind of more likely to be in like a coven. I think that's.
Yeah.
I think a hedge witch is more solitary. The solitary witch, although we've found where we coven here, haven't we?
Yeah. We've had to be solitary in the last year, haven't we?
Aye.
Okay, we've got next one up is a Dianic witch. This is a practice. Oh, Sally's face went really big on the screen then. Practice the most feminist of all witchcraft practices. Followers of the cult of Diana are all women, so no men are allowed. They worship the goddess through all 3 of her aspects: maiden, mother, and crone. So Diana is a goddess, isn't she? I've heard her name come up in many pagan songs. We have the elemental witch. She studies and practiced study and practice based on the 4 elements. So earth, air, fire, and water. Honouring each element there when they're casting their spells. So I kind of use a bit of that in mine as well, I suppose. You know, salt water, spring water, flame, joss sticks, that sort of stuff. We have a ceremonial witch. It's kind of self-explanatory. And we have a hereditary witch, which again is quite self-explanatory. You're born into the bloodline. Now the cosmic witch. Right, the cosmic witch. I bought books when I was younger and they blew my mind. And I think they were aimed at cosmic witches because they had so many astronomy formulas and to do with Saturn in this element and Mercury in that one. And I remember just thinking, oh, I don't think I'll ever understand this witchcraft malarkey. It's really confusing. And that, I mean, that it was like doing a A-level physics class for me, that was. So they use the cosmos, astrology and astronomy, and they work those elements into celestial energy, into their practice, and they follow the alignment of the stars. We've got a little comment there. Diana is a goddess and Dianic, which is very, very, really accept males. I'm not going to go into the reasons why another gold star and an A. Well, thank you, insane witch king person. We have the secular witch. It's all right, coming to the end now, everybody. You can open your eyes. They will cast spells using crystals, herbs, oils, and candles. They don't attach spirituality to their practice. They don't worship a deity or higher being, and it is entirely non-religious. So kind of an isolated witch there who works alone again. Then we've got the solitary witch, self-explanatory, they work alone. And lastly, what Jo said she was, an eclectic witch. Does not have one set religion, practice, tradition or culture that they pull from. They ultimately make their own rules with their practice and is entirely unique based on the individual witch. So, you know, they sort of cut and paste as they go, pick it up wherever. So after you've heard all that, is there any that stood out to any of you that you think you would fit into that category? That's my question.
A few, actually. I see the traditional witch with the local history and the folklore of specific areas. That very much interests me. Also, when you mention sea witch, I'm always drawn to water. And it's the hardest thing is not being able to get to a river or a lake or the sea, because I could just sit. That's when I can meditate, is when I'm next to water. That's when I heal, is when I'm next to water. But also see that there's a lot in there. Was it the divination witch who does tarot cards, and the cosmic witch does astrology? And we've all mentioned tarot cards, and how many of us look at horoscopes and make judgments based on birth stars, and kitchen witch as well, of course. I mean, we think about it, any meal that we cook up with the herbs, the love that goes into the creation of the meal, that's a spell in itself, isn't it?
Yeah.
You could almost just take the word witch away and you're describing an awful lot of people. And it's just the word makes things. That's interesting. What about you,
I know
Shelley?
one I would definitely. And well, I'll start with the one I definitely know I wouldn't be, and that would be the kitchen witch. Definitely not for me. I mean, cooking is not my forte, so I don't think I would actually manage to do that successfully. From the house down, maybe. Probably poison somebody accidentally. Maybe people have tried to practice being a kitchen witch, and it's went terribly wrong, and then they've felt the fate by getting took away and punished, obviously. That would have been me in a past life, practicing herbs and spices in a pot. There's Shelley feeding the masses, and then they're all kind of croaking it because I poisoned them all. So I definitely wouldn't be that one. I certainly like the kind of being at one with nature. I just feel as though when I go out, like in a big walk where there's no like built up areas, I just feel as though that's my best place. Where there's water, where there's land, trees, hills, woods. I just kind of like that. That's not my dog.
No, it's mine. I'm sorry.
It's all right. It's all right. So, because I like anything to do with divination, that seems to be my thing. It's just difficult when you've got a family to be able to pursue that, you know, as much what you would like to do. So, because I'm not solo as I am just now, I just don't get a chance to practice it. But it's good. I would obviously do it my own way. So, pretty much the way Jo does it. Just do it my way, quietly.
I know which witch would John be? I mean, look in the background there. I wonder.
Yeah, something definitely to do with nature and plants for sure, and the elements as well, like the air, fire, earth, and water. Those would be my jam, I think, and the moon as well. I think the moon's really powerful because I'm convinced, this might sound silly, but I think people drive a lot worse when there's a full moon. I don't know if anyone else notices that, but I always
I'm a driving instructor, John, and I can 100% believe that. I just know. Coming from a driving instructor, I can tell you that is a complete truth.
Yeah, there's so many times
I can verify that.
But there's just loads of people driving badly, and I think, oh, it must be a full moon, and then I look, and it is. So there's definitely some power there, I think. So I'd incorporate more of the moon, I think.
I think you're onto something there, John, because I watched a programme years ago about Coventry, funnily enough, and how they put more police officers on the beach during a full moon. So
Wow, I didn't know.
That's a true fact.
Yeah.
That is a true fact. Because after a full moon, kind of everybody just goes kind of a bit mad. It's to do with the ebb and flow of the seas, the moon, and that's a true fact. Forrest.
And we are 80% water, 80-ish% water. So if it's going to pull the ocean in and out, it's going to affect us in some way. That's my 2 pence anyway.
Yes.
Which takes us a wee bit. Yep, which takes us out. It leads us on to a wee bit of the candle magic. What I was saying to Karen a wee bit earlier on, and if somebody will correct me if I'm wrong, but when you want to do an intention using the candles, you can write write it in a bit of paper. You can write it on the candle. You can burn the paper on the candle, burn it out, or just have it written on the candle, and just make that intention when there's going to be a new moon, and you put all your concentration, all your intentions into what it is you're trying to achieve. And so the longer you can hold that focus and that concentration, the more chances of this intention coming to light. And if you wanted to dispel something, if you want something to stop happening, you would do it on a waning moon, or a waning moon, sorry. So, totally, as far as the moon's concerned. Yeah.
So harnessing
That's
the
my
different
next
energies and harnessing the different energies and bringing it all together into the intention that you have there. Does that make sense?
I think it's like out with the in, out with the old and in with the new.
Yes.
Is that right?
Mentioned a few things in. Sorry,
Go on,
Forrest.
Karen.
I was going to say, we mentioned a couple that's come up a couple of times in there, which is about spirituality and religion and secular. I mean, how much of a religion is witchcraft?
Well, I think it's more of a faith. I mean, I know religion and faith, people see of the same things, but you know, it's with some witches believe in fairies. You know, some people believe in wood sprites and all sorts of things going on. And I think it's just about what you want to see, you go looking for. There's another side to paganism where they do worship Hecate, Diana, you know, and all the goddesses as well. And I've never really got into that because I'm not too into the god side of thing. Anything with the word god or goddess, I kind of shy away from. For me, it's about the earth, especially, you know, just being out in the forest and, like you said, with the sea. I'm drawn to the sea, and as soon as my feet go paddling in there, I just want to keep walking. And I'll go in the sea in Wales in October. You know, I don't care if it's cold. The energy I get from the sea just washes every cobweb and it just energizes me. So it's where you get your energy from, I think. And if people get it from worshipping a particular goddess, then great. If that works for you, brilliant. But for me, it's earth elements, water, especially. Yeah. So
I suppose it depends whether you're a soul witch, a solitary witch, or in a coven as well, because I'm guessing when hierarchies come in, it becomes a bit more like a religion and more organized and more directed rather. But if you're working on your own, then you've got the freedom. Sandy, with casting a love spell on Gary Barlow, work better when it's a full moon. Yeah, I know you're not asking for a friend at all, Sandy. Try it. Try it.
You can't mess with free will, Sandy, I'm afraid.
Sandy, we'll find a spell for you. Don't you worry over the next course of life. We'll find you that Gary Barlow spell.
We'll plant the seeds for you.
Well, that brings us very nicely onto the subject of spells. So how do you go about casting a spell? Do you need tools? What are the different ways of going about it?
I think it's
I think
up to the individual how far and how serious they want to take it. It all starts with an intention in here, and how you manifest that is the energy you put into something. So it could be something simple like, you know, Shelley says, writing an intention on a candle, picking the right phase of the moon. Is it waxing to bring you something? Is it waning to get rid? And it's one of those things you can always learn more, right? I mean, I'll show you. This is what I use, and it's
Crikey.
it's the
that is the best form of
5,000
education.
And out of all the books I've read over the years, this one is my go-to book. So if I'm serious about something, if I really want to make a difference and I really want to sit down, you know, I will cleanse my space. I will sage the hell out of it. I will get the right candles, the right moon phase, the right day of the week, even, because different days of the week relate to different issues. And then I might use, I mean, I told John earlier, didn't I, John? I said, I'm not a witch. I just do witchy things. All right.
Love.
So I get the cauldron out. I get my little charcoal burner. And then I've got about 6 of these. Basket full of deliciously smelly herbs and, you know, bat blood ink. I've got dove's blood ink. I've got 4 thieves vinegar. I've got loads anyway. And you pick your herbs. The right herbs will relate to certain areas in your life. And you can spend a good few hours doing it. You can have the whole night at it if you want. There's candles that you have to burn on the night of the spell and then burn them 7 consecutive days. There's spells that go on for a month. So it all depends on the witch. It all depends whether you want a quick one, an hour one, or whatever. But they can be really simple, you know, like casting a handful of herbs into the fire with an intention, you know, can be enough for some people. But if it's a bigger issue and you want to put more into it and just, you know, you've got that stuff to get out, more focus.
Yeah. I've got a couple of things to say about that, because you've got that book for us, and I know for a fact you've got lots of books, you know. So anybody that was wanting to try and learn the art of witchcraft and learn to do these kind of spells, the best thing to do is get your books, know what books to read, because there's a lot of misguided information. Like, a lot of people go to Google and literally pick the first information and just think that's genuine stuff to read, and that they're going to get a true fact on, a true like proper education on how to do these kind of things and how to understand the art of witchcraft and Wicca. So the best thing to do is talk to people that knows, that's been practicing it for a long time, rather than just jumping in and looking at it online.
It's true. I read a lot of, you know, dud books. I just didn't know where to start. I started on my own. Yeah. White sage is traditionally used to bring in the spirit.
Isn't it?
Yes, I am growing a lot of Californian white sage at the moment. And it is the slowest growing plant I've ever grown in my life. What would be
another thing?
So what would be a good starting point book? That's a good question. What's a good one to start with?
Well,
I see loads on Amazon, but I just don't know which one to pick.
I really love, there's a lady that called Glennie Kindred, and she writes these beautiful books. Now this is just for me, I'm an earthy girl, so Glennie Kindred writes some beautiful and simple books and explains earth magic really well, and she illustrates as well, so she's an illustrator. So I would recommend giving Glennie Kindred a look. She's one I discovered years and years into my research, and I wished I would have discovered her in my teens. Beautiful books, easy to read, simple.
Wonderful, thank you.
There you go, Sandy.
Right. So were you saying something else then, Shelley?
I was just going to ask one more thing as well, Forrest maybe can answer this. So like, I know we're going to be doing spells on here over the course of lives. So if you were going to do a spell, right, and we know we need all kind of things, we need candles, sometimes like eggshells and things like that. It depends kind of what kind of spells you're doing. But if you had to go and take stuff off the land, is it correct practice to ask like the universe if it's okay to do that? Because you wouldn't just go ahead and pick and take whatever you want. You have to ask for a sign to make sure that it's okay.
You're supposed to leave an offering, and an offering can be a thank you to the goddess. You know, thank you. May I pick it? Thank you. Or you could. What I used to do. There's some wishing trees at Avebury around the stone circle. A witch there taught me that if you want to take a leaf off the tree, just leave an offering. And I said, well, I don't really have anything to hang on the tree, so just a strand of your hair. So I always use a strand of my hair and just tie it loosely around the tree, you know, so it can be anything, as long as you appreciate and you're conscious that you're taking from the land, give something back.
Thank you, Forrest.
No worries.
So you talk about white witches and the spells and stuff, but it's the other side of the coin is you get, how real is the other side there, the darker side there? I mean, I've heard stories over the years about, you know, witches' covens here, there, and everywhere in the UK, and, you know, practicing spells, you know, to kill people, and, you know, all sorts of stuff. How real is the other side there?
Well, again, it's the same with every area of life, isn't it? You get good people, you get bad people. One thing I've never understood about black magic and black witches is the rule of 3. Whatever you put out there, you get threefold. So I only do good, and I only get good back. But if I was to cast a hex or a curse on somebody, why would I want to do that? If I'm going to get that back threefold, the law is, you know, you're buggered. So I don't know. I mean, I'm by no means an expert. I don't even call myself a witch. I just do witchy things. But it's all about intention. And you do get people with busy minds, you know, people whose lives are turbulent and home lives are turbulent, and they've got this bitterness. You know, I wouldn't allow somebody like that to cast a spell for me. I'd want somebody beautiful, somebody, you know, with spirituality, with Reiki skills, with healing skills. I don't want her down the road who's always slagging off a mate, you know, to come and do my spells. It'd be like, I don't want that in my life, and I don't invite it. So there you go.
Sandy, it's nice to have the coin, I guess. That's I was trying to get. You know, there is 2 sides to it. Using to have people who have existed since before any known religion, except maybe, however, easily broken.
They need a connection to use it, and connections are easily broken. Right, that's interesting. That kind of relates back to the stories around the Pendle witches, doesn't it? And witch bottles, and needing pieces of hair and things to cast curses and to protect people. Okay. So, what one takes?
Obviously, witchcraft has been growing for like centuries. As long as people know they've been using one form of witchcraft, but then if people were using it as a form of to kind of get people out the road, just be explaining. But the people would have been using witchcraft to put curses on people, possibly, you know. But I think over time, then it got to the 1600s to maybe the 1800s. It kind of started coming back after all that Pendle, the witch trials, and the Witchcraft Act. It kind of died out, and then people were starting to come back over the late 1800s as cunning women and people that were actually just healers. They were just starting to help people. And I think now it's kind of widely practiced that people are actually just being able to be out there and show people that witches aren't bad people. They're not out there to do harm to anybody. any witch that I know are positive, healing people that just want to do good. And also, I think over generations it's kind of changed, and people's perceptions are changing, although there is still that kind of, people just have the judgment and just think that all witches are the same, that they're out there to do harm, which is not the case.
Am I right in thinking that if you want to use spells for something, I'm trying to think of a good example here. So say you've got a really noisy neighbor and you want to use a spell to get rid of them, to make them move on. I've heard that you can do that, but it's about how you do it and kind of wishing the person well and moving on in life, and that's kind of how you can get them to go to benefit you, but it also has to benefit them. I don't know if that's right or not. Does that happen?
I think you could ask her and you go for it.
You could cast a spell to like, oh, I really hope that they develop an interest in avid reading and just like quiet hours at night, and my intention is good. Oh, they'll learn something and they'll be quiet, rather than, oh, I wish her mouth would sew up and she'd bugger off out or she'd get evicted. That's not nice, So it's how your intentions work, isn't it? Like, I'm a nice person, but everybody's got a dark side, and we like to think those things. It's like, oh God, I'd like to throw tar in her face to shut her up, but just be pleasant, get over that. That's my emotion, and deal with, oh, what about if I wish that they did that and they find another thing to do than make a lot of noise, So good question.
Just as you're saying that, John,
the rule of three. So I was going to say the rule of three was a late invention, why they were trying to make a weirdo conference about it in America. It's very new age. And so that's interesting. So the rule of three is that something to try and help people to understand, or just try and help people to be good and to be positive, rather than
so
something that
a bit like karma then. Karma.
That's what I was going to say.
And it's the old rule, isn't it? What you give out, you get. So just be nice.
Yeah. Okay, so from Davina, the way witches have been portrayed in a patriarchal society is why they've been seen negatively. As society changes, so do attitudes to witches. Yeah. Yes, very much. And I'd add religious in there as well, because I think it was with the Reformation and the upheaval between Protestant and Catholic, and then witches, or women, mainly, some men as well. But I think hundreds of thousands of women were accused of witchcraft because it wasn't part of the church. And because what they were doing, I think we've talked about cunning women, so they had powers of healing which weren't, and it was just knowledge. It was just knowledge of the woods and the plants and how to put them together. And it was the early form of medicine, some of which we use today quite often. But they weren't blessed by the church. They weren't approved by the church. And of course, midwives under the Catholic Church, they were allowed to baptize babies that wouldn't live long enough to make it to the church, which of course that wasn't liked either. And wrapping everybody up under the term of witchcraft was an easy way of getting rid of people. Yes, Davina, you're right. Yes.
And women are powerful.
On a bit now, aren't I?
Yeah. And another thing about the rule of three. Sorry, Forrest.
Go on, Shell.
And another thing about the rule of three, and as well about why you wouldn't do a spell for like monetary gain, because if you put a spell out wanting, like, asking for money, there is a possibility that actually you could have a family member die, and the money that you receive could be like inheritance.
Yeah.
So what you wish for will come back to you, and it's not really what you're wanting to ask for. So, and then a lot of people ask, "Oh, could you get me this for money?" No, I couldn't do that.
Everything has a price.
That's right.
But also as well
Right.
with I've been watching sort of manifestation videos, you know, and cosmic ordering and stuff like that, because that's all the power of the mind as well. And they say that if you put out to the universe that you're asking for money, you need money, you're putting out there that you're poor, that you're skint, that you need it. Whereas if you think already that I'm loaded, I've got loads of money, money just comes to me, I don't chase it, money just flows to me when I need it. It then comes to you.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of this power of the mind stuff that just fascinates me.
Yeah, I agree with that, because I've learned lately.
Have you tried
when
anything
I've
like
lost
that?
something, like I've learned,
Actions, that's
I've lost the remote
exactly what I believe.
control.
Positive
I
maybe.
go around, so if I go around the house, oh, where is that? I can't find it. I've lost it. I can't find it anywhere. I won't find it. But if I go around saying, okay, so it'll be in the next place I look, then it very often is. And it's very often somewhere where I'd already looked while I was telling myself that I couldn't find it. So you have the power of the mind and careful what you wish for. And how you phrase it and how you put it out there, how you put that energy out there. It is very powerful, because it is our energy at the end of the day, isn't it? That we're putting out into the universe.
Yeah.
What Shelley said about money, I did some manifestation. I thought, I'll give this a go then. Okay, I'm loaded. I've got loads of money. And the very next day, I got my first ever booking for my business, and I was really excited.
Yep.
And as I was driving there, thinking, "Oh, fantastic!" I found I was going down a 60-mile-an-hour road down the country, and there was a bag in the middle of the road, and I thought, oh, I better pull over and move that, because somebody's going to hit it. It's going to cause an accident. So I parked up, I ran down the road, and a man in a van had already pulled over, and he just chucked it in the hedge. And I thought, well, I'll go and have a look what it was. And I picked it up, and it looked like a pet carrier. And I thought, oh God, I hope this isn't a cat or something in there. Anyway, I got it to the car, and I opened it up, and it was a motorbike bag. It had fell off somebody's motorbike, and there was no ID, no card, no name and address, nothing. And it had £420 in it. And I thought, what? I didn't want somebody to lose out. That could have been somebody's pension. You know, there was loads of heart medicines in there and all that sort of stuff. And I thought, God, he's probably had a heart attack, you know, finding out he'd lost his bag. And I searched high and low for who this might be on biker forums. I never found it. And I've still got the money. I won't spend it just in case. But it just goes to show you've got to be very careful what you ask for.
Just as you're saying that, you know, it doesn't matter how small it is. I keep losing connection, guys, so if I keep freezing, I do apologise. It just seems to be kind of drifting away all the time. But I always remember I was at Pollock House one time, we were going to visit, and I seen this money lying on the floor, and it was only, I picked it up, it was £26, you know, but me being honest, I went and handed it into the reception. I didn't know if they were going to spend it, to be fair, right? But I was just young, and I just thought, I don't feel right putting this in my pocket. So I handed it into reception. As gullible as I was, I did it. And then I got a few weeks down the line, I got a letter with a £5 in it to say thank you, because I went to the trouble I had. And then I always remember that, you know, it doesn't matter how significant it is, but I handed that back, and I just thought that was the best thing to do. And obviously you're recognised for that. I wouldn't like to.
There's your reward.
I remember a story a few years back now. I read a story, it was in the paper or something like that, but it was a guy found a bag and had 50 grand in it, £50,000 in this bag. So he handed it to the police, you know, and eventually the guy who turned up, what have you, and he got in contact with the guy that handed it in and gave him a tenner.
Oh,
boo! Terrible.
Personally, I mean, this is going to make me sound bad, you know, but you know, that 50 grand going. You know what I mean? I'll hand the bag in. I found this bag officer. I mean, don't know what was in it. The guy got a 10 for giving the guys 50 grand back. I thought, oh no.
50 grand.
Unbelievable. Mill was saying £420 of what? I think it's a weight measurement as well as a currency.
Well, it was quite an interesting bag because when I picked it up, it was buzzing, and I thought, oh, what's going on here? It wasn't anything dodgy. It was an electric razor that had obviously turned itself on. There was like a pair of shoes in there, a t-shirt, 4 pairs of socks, but no change of pants. That's the thing that made me intrigued.
That's interesting. Yes, that's an
He was
interesting
obviously going away for the weekend, and he was going commando on his bike. So.
Oh gosh.
I think that would intrigue me for you find £420 in a bag, but the thing that concerns you most is there's no spare pair of boxes in the bag.
I'm quite glad I didn't find dirty boxes, to be honest. I thought he's obviously going somewhere. What's that, Shell?
He maybe didn't wear pants.
Yeah. On a motorbike.
On a motorbike, I would have prepared a pair of pants on. Okay. I did say I would behave with this. I better stop.
How do I always lower the conversation? Don't know, just happens.
There was one. Sorry, Scott, go on.
Actually says he stopped wearing pants. Thanks for sharing that with us, Hatchie, so much. Thank you.
Cut down on the luggage.
There was one thing I wanted to ask, and that was about casting a circle. Because how does that work? And then with the elements and then the 4 directions.
I cast a circle.
Are they different things? Right.
I do quite a simple one. I'll generally sit in a circle of crystals and 4 candles for north, south, east, west. Earth, air, fire, water, whatever you want to represent. But I will sit in a circle, and then I'll visualize the white light and the blue light surrounding me, and just do a kind of meditation. So that's how I do it in a quick way. But you can spend half an hour doing that with an anathema knife or a wand or whatever you want to do. And it's the same as when you go into a ghost hunt. You have to protect yourself. You have to do the visualization and the kind of, right, you stay over there, I'm here, this is my bubble, you're not allowed in. So it's similar. There's quick ways of doing it, a couple of minutes, and there's longer ways where you can bring in all your sort of, some witches will have a little knife or, a wand or something that they use in every ritual, which they feel has got energy, that they've used it for a lot of rituals. It's got energy. They focus on that, and that's their protection. You could have an amulet. So it's all tailored to the person, really. I keep it simple.
So it's
about
protection. It's about protection. So it's about protection. It adds to the protection.
Yeah, it's about having a clean space that's cleansed. This is my space, and anything bad stays out of it. So yeah, it's about protecting yourself, really, because you're opening doors, you're opening portals, you're opening into different realms that you know nothing about. Well, that's their way, your way of keeping them out and telling them, I'm safe here, you stay over there, mate. I'm just going to do my stuff in here. So yeah.
Because I've used the light in various forms to protect me before I've done any Reiki or opening up to anything. But it's never been enough, no matter how stringent I've done it. I mean, I've literally put suits of armor on, all correct, the different layers of light, and yet there's still things I don't want still get through. So I'm wondering, maybe I need to do something physical as well as the spiritual protection, to do a physical circle.
You might need to use more powerful elements. Get some black salt is a good one. Look up black salt. Black salt is salt mixed with scrapings from anything cast iron that's used to cook or perform spells in. So you get the ashes from a cast iron, anything cast iron, mix it with your salt, and that's good for protection. It keeps the negative out. Quartz is just a generic good one as well. But yeah, black salt, try that.
And there's
Right.
Palo Santo as well, Forrest. You can use that along with the black salt. Is that right? Well, you use that with sage. If you're doing if you're sage in your house, you can use Palo Santo. I think I'm saying that correctly.
That's an
You know what
incense.
See,
that
I've
is?
not heard of that, Shelley. I've not heard of
Right.
that,
Yeah,
so I've learned something new.
So
That's
if
an
you use
incense,
sage,
isn't it, Shelley?
you use it. You can
Yeah.
you should use it, or you can use it. I've heard this from Patty Negri. It was through Patty Negri that I learned about Palo Santo. She uses it along with sage as well. So that's
Okay.
just another thing that you could use. But it's just but it's like Forrest says, if you use the black salt's going to protect you anyway. But there is other forms like Palo Santo you can use to kind of protect you. There's other things you get all your different crystals you can use as well to protect
There's
you.
loads of
You know,
oils as well, oils
that's
and
right.
powders and waters that you can mix up. I mean, there's so many in that book, Karen. If you want any help, I can look up some
Right.
for you. But there's loads of simple oils, protection oils, that you can,
Yep.
drip around on your candles and whatever. So Palo
Brilliant.
Santo, I've never heard of that. Maybe it's an American
I
thing.
think
I'm going to Google it for you. The new Palo
Yeah,
Santo.
cool.
That's what it's called.
Actually, I think we're coming to the end of the live. It's really good to be finishing it on protection, because that's actually really important, isn't it? Before we open ourselves up to anything, before we work with energies, that we're clearing our own energy, and we're also protecting anything ourselves and our space from anything darker that may find the way in. So yes, Palo Santo, holy wood from Peru. Right. Yes, thank you.
These things are easy. They're easy accessible, Karen, as well. For any watching, these things are easily accessible to buy.
Brilliant.
So,
well, I think we're
wind it up
at
here.
That's
There's
a good
one more
question.
question.
Yeah, excellent question. What do you think of the witch things on TikTok and Instagram? My daughter was really upset because someone told her not to use sage because it's a closed practice.
I've got the answer. Don't listen to witchcraft advice on Witch Talk, because they're all blooming toxic. I've been watching it myself, and there's been so many people saying how horrible the witches are on TikTok. So don't go to TikTok for witchcraft advice. It's like Wikipedia. People can write anything. Research, books, proper sites, real witches. Don't take advice from TikTok.
That sounds excellent advice and an excellent note to end on. So thank you ever so much for all of you. And thank you so much for all that knowledge, Forrest. I've learned an awful lot, and I've got a lot of things to try out over the weekend as well. Starting with protection. Brilliant. That's fantastic. And thank you everyone who's joined us, and for all your fantastic comments as well, and questions. It's been really great. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. So, and thank you, Shelley, John, and Scott as well.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
So just watch out for the next one.
Yes. Yes. Do we know when the next one is yet, Scott?
It's whenever our witch team can make it. I think we can make it a fortnightly thing if you're okay with it.
Right.
How up to yourselves.
Okay.
Every 2 weeks. So we'll put a note up on our Facebook page, folks. Probably 2 weeks to, what day is this? Friday.
It is.
Yes.
2 weeks today. What do you think?
Sounds fine.
How up to yourselves.
Right.
And we'll look up some spells, and Joe will be on as well, so we can maybe try and go through some protection techniques, and then
that would be that's a good idea, Shelley. If we do that for the first one, and
what I'm wanting to do again 1 week is, and John, obviously you're welcome as well, is just when you mentioned Patty, I want to get you on the Witch team with Patty Negri.
Yes, that was a great idea. We look forward to that.
That would be fascinating.
So leave it with me. I'll talk to Patty, and we'll arrange a date for Patty to be a guest on our Witch team.
Right.
Yes.
How you doing, John?
That's exciting.
So thanks very much, ladies and John, for coming in, and thanks to everybody in the chat. Sandy wants a Gary Barlow spell, by the way.
We'll do
I
our
don't think
best.
she's got-
That's on the top of the list, Sandy.
I-
Top of the list.
I really don't see her giving up on the Gary Barlow thing. You know, best of luck, Sandy. I hope you get him. You know, but I've got no idea. I don't have an answer for that one, I'm afraid. But I mean, so, thanks everybody once again. We're back tomorrow night with author and paranormal investigator Mark Edgerton. He's the author of this actual book here. So that'll be another author we've got on.
Brilliant.
The Haunting History of Huntingdonshire. So he's on tomorrow night at 9 o'clock. And we have our very own author back with us on Monday, I believe.
Oh, yes. Yes, 8 o'clock on Monday for a book corner. So some book readings and a bit of chat around books and the history behind them. So I hope you can join me then.
Fantastic. Yep.
Yeah, Carrie's book on 8 o'clock Monday night. We're back tomorrow night at 9 o'clock. So Kathy is in Edinburgh tomorrow. We'll do our best to make it, Kathy. If we can make it, then we'll drop you a wee mail. Oh, no, I'll be at the hospital tomorrow, so I can't go. Sorry. We'll try to sort something out for you all. So thanks so much, everybody. Enjoy the evening, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks. Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.